Hello, my name is Christina Luna, and today I'm going to be talking about March 2023 and how I believe we'll be experiencing this on an energetic level by looking through the lens of astrology. The overview theme for March this month is that we will fully step into our faith and use this as our discernment. I believe that this year, we are moving towards something that for each of us will be a level of congruence that we've never experienced before. And I believe that we got a glimpse of what this congruent life could look like. We got a glimpse in January. I believe that we saw it and we committed our life to being directionally accurate and aligned with that congruence. And then in February, I believe that we drew a line within ourselves. I feel that this was due to some of the Pluto alignments, some of the Saturn alignments. We drew a line with ourselves for a standard of living, a standard of congruence with ourselves, a standard of congruence with our physical health, our values, our mental health, our emotional health, our creative health, our career, relationships, etc. But there was some sort of core commitment that February asked of us. And so I believe that February brought forth those types of commitments. And now in March, we are having to commit to our faith. So faith is usually something that's present when we don't have tangible proof. When it's faith is something that is just deeply known. It sometimes comes from taking an inventory of all the times in life that things have worked out okay, all the times that we've taken leaps, all the times that we've trusted the synchronicities, all the times that our life nudged us into change, whether we wanted it or not, and it actually brought us to a different place, a different time. It brought a lesson to us. It brought people into our lives. And so we're being asked in March to just lean on that faith and to navigate with agility, with our intuition, to be very sensitive. A lot of the messages that I've been conveying have to do with coming into clarity about what your personal field feels like. We are moving toward greater personal congruence. But in order to move to that, we need to make sure that we're carving out quiet, still time within the chaotic swirl of life. And so there are lots of different ways that we're finding to create that still point within us. There could be software that we're using to measure our biorhythms. There could be new frequency technologies that are allowing us to pay closer attention to our energetics. There's something about growing our self-awareness at this time, self-awareness of our recipes, self-awareness of what uniquely actually works for us and what's worked for us in the past and what we need to continue to double down on that really works well for us moving through times of destabilization, uncertainty, instability, and insecurity, essentially. So if the physical world is changing a lot for you, if the tangible world is starting to seem less concrete, take an inventory of some of the things that you know are completely indestructible about you, things that you have experienced from your past that felt maybe a little bit like this, but you can use as a confidence builder or a table of faith or belief stack while you're traversing this time. I also am noticing that this month is asking us to really clarify and specialize. So whether this means that we are clearing out behaviors, I just did a technology detox. This could be related to food. This could be related to ways that you spend your time or like group associations. there's something that's asking us to clarify the things that are not aligned with where we want to go, to really create some boundaries around our faith and protecting the direction that we truly want to go. I've left messages in my Telegram group about, recognizing that life is like a huge warehouse full of all kinds of different experiences. And we each have a sort of flashlight or spotlight, and we're the ones directing that flashlight or spotlight. It is true that other people or outside influences can try to direct our focus, can try and draw us in to certain commentaries, stories. They can draw us into wanting to buy things, to believe things about ourselves. And this month is the month where we clarify where we want to point our spotlight, and we actively decide to trust that instead of any kind of sort of outward influence that would take us off of our most congruent life, most congruent way of being. So I'm just going to go week by week, and then I'm going to go through some dates and share some dates with you. There's a lot happening this month. In fact, the very first week of this month, on the 2nd, we have 3 really potent transits that are happening. The first one is that Mercury will enter Pisces. So that's, that happens every year. It's nothing rare, but I think the fact that we're going to have Mercury in Pisces during a time where big planets are changing signs, during a time where, we are having to be with the liquidity of reality. I think that truly surrendering to synchronistic information that comes through still meditation, or insights that come through the physical senses that just feel right, that just feel aligned. Those are the types of information that Mercury will herald in during the whole month, really. Mercury is going to enter Aries on the 19th. So some of the more intuitive-based messages will shift to more physical, visceral messages. And still, yet, these are both sort of not really rational Mercuries. This is a Mercury that, is filled with symbolism and filled with sensation and impulse. And so just know that a lot of our information is going to be coming through some less rational channels this month. On the 2nd as well, Venus and Jupiter and Chiron will come into a conjunction. Venus and Jupiter conjunction, Venus is the planet that rules our body, our receptivity, beauty, grace, senses. When Venus and Jupiter come together, which they're doing so in Aries, that could be really fiery, very, I want to say visceral, somatic, physical, instinctual, very instinctual growth that is coming from an absolute somatic must. Like, I just know I have to do this. I just feel this truth. I feel that the growth that I'm doing here is so important. Jupiter is expanding through lots of gravity, some sensations that we're having in the physical body, that we're having about our right to exist, our right to be here, our right to individuate, our innate worthiness around our existence. And so when this is also conjunct Chiron, there's a sense of healing happening around our innate existence and the physicality of our existence. So this is on the 2nd, while Venus is giving us signals from the symbolic world. And then also at the same time on the 2nd, Saturn and Mercury are coming into a conjunction. So Oh yeah, Mercury entering Pisces. No, they're in a conjunction right before the Mercury changes over. So it's, even though Saturn is still at the final degree of Aquarius, that day there's that conjunction and then the crossover. So I feel that while Saturn has been in Aquarius for the last 2.5 years, Saturn has sort of represented the collective consciousness. It's the society's known beliefs, values, it's societal expectations, it's the way that society relates as a structure in our lives. So it could even be the networks in which we connect to society. So it could be the way that we consume entertainment through our society, the way we work. I mean, a lot of us have changed into a platform of working with the global world at large through Zoom and YouTube and all kinds of platforms that are connecting us to society. So I see also that there could be some sort of strong announcement that we make, some sort of commitment that we make to the world at large right before this movement into Pisces. And I think that this will be based less on our rational mind. The moon will be in Cancer when all of this is happening. So I feel that some emotional experience, some very primal physical somatic experience will help us to know more deeply what we truly put our faith into. And so I'm just talking about the very first week of March. I feel it's a time where if we can just really get quiet with ourselves, if we can just really clarify what we deeply believe, why we believe what we believe, why we have faith in what we have faith in, maybe based on past experiences. I think it's going to reinforce and clarify the behaviors that we take from that space. So give yourself plenty of space in this first week of March to really feel that out for yourself. I called this week the week of the inner experiencers. So if you can have an inner experience this week, you'll find that all of the answers are within you, that all of the answers are already here, that our life has already proven it to ourselves. Then we have another nice day on the 7th. On the 7th, we are having a full moon in Virgo. That full moon happens every Pisces season. I personally love the full moons in Virgo because I have a moon in Virgo and a sun and a lot of my other planets. And so this is a really reflective time. And what I find Virgo moons are good about reflecting on, they're good about reflecting on what makes you different, what makes you special, what makes you what makes you you? Why do you see the world the way that you do? What are all the life experiences that you've had that have brought you to this temple of you that you are? So if you could spend some time on the 7th, really taking an inventory of why you are a separate, individuated container, separate from the whole that is our whole collective consciousness. Why did you incarnate into this one vessel? And while you're reflecting on that, Saturn will enter Pisces and deliver us into a time where we're creating some structure around how that individuated you interacts with the all that is. And there will be some tangible, Saturn is tangible structure, its form, its process. It is the kind of mature calling. It calls us into emotional maturity. It calls us into spiritual maturity. There could be some calls for courage in times of unknown. I feel that if we do that inventory and we really use the first week to have an inner experience, we can come to some awareness around who we are and have greater self-awareness and greater self-acceptance of who we are. And that Virgo moon with Sagittarius, or the Saturn entering into Pisces, that can be the beginning of our congruence movement. And then on the 12th, the Jupiter Chiron conjunction will be this expansion beyond. So if there was ever any part of you that felt like you were not enough, that just by merely existing, you're not worthy to take up space, that could be something that Chiron is drawing out of the core of you. It's drawing it to the surface. Aries is a sign that it always is associated with the warrior, with Mars, with cardinal fiery energy, with conquering, but really at its core, it's about division, the division of the individual from the womb. It's about birthing a self. And when a person is first born into this world, it's actually quite dependent and quite vulnerable. And also, in the most ideal situation, that infant child doesn't have to do anything, really can't do anything, to be unconditionally loved, to be unconditionally cared for, to have all of its needs met. And it can literally do anything. It cries, it poops, it throws up, it doesn't sleep, it nuzzles in. Sometimes it smiles for no reason. Babies, when they're first born, they can't do anything to help themselves or to generate love for themselves. But biology usually gives an environment that unconditionally bestows upon that individual every single thing unconditionally. And so the Aries wound somehow has to do with the forgetting that just by existing, we are worthy. Just by existing, we're valuable and we're enough. There's some wound within the human psyche that is going to be expanded and seen in such a, I feel, in such a beautiful way during this time, that we can expand beyond that misunderstanding so that we can come into even greater levels of acceptance of who we are and why we are alive. Excuse me. The second week of March, I'm calling the emotional navigators. I actually feel in some ways that there are parts of us that are seeking to really root into the experience of life. And I think in this month, in the second week of March, we're going to find ourselves quietly rooting the way that like a puppy or a kitten would root for the mother's nurturance. I think that within us, there's a part that is rooting for some sort of nurturing sustenance that can only be found within our own hearts. And I feel that Jupiter Chiron conjunction will be a sensation of finally touching into that core essence that we are and finding an everlasting well of nurturance from that space. So if your life is making you feel like a lost little puppy at some point in that week, if you're feeling emotional, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling like a sense of needing to seek deeply within, seek deeply with faith, and allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to receive. Venus will enter Taurus on the 16th. And this is going to, Taurus rules, Venus rules the temple of Taurus, and it's a very comfortable place for our somatic senses to be during those times. And I find it nice that we're getting this sense of comfort and stability for the body. Basically, it seems that Venus entering Taurus would be the moment where if you were rooting and rooting and rooting for that source, this would be a moment where it's found, where the resources are found, where the stability is found, the home is found, the food is found, the money is found, the things that your life has been seeking, it begins to receive it. And very shortly after Venus enters Taurus, Mercury will enter the Aries temple. And so, like I said in the beginning, while we've had to kind of feel by symbol and get our information through more intuitive planes, this is when, here it is, Venus is in Taurus, it's connected to the body, it's rooted in, it's connected to that source. And now Mercury is saying, my physical, somatic, embodied self will feel viscerally, will feel physically where I need to go, what I need to know, and I can act from my instincts. Then the Sun will enter Aries. When that happens, that instinctual self is born. So, what could this look like for people? What could it look like for the collective? I can see when I feel into this, I can see that there will be several, infinite amounts of ways of experiencing this, but you can get a clearer perspective on the area of your life that's going to be emphasized the most by understanding where Aries is in your chart. So, for instance, if you have Aries in the first house, you will feel an instinctive call to fully be the character that you're playing in this life. So there'll be maybe a renewal of who you are. You'll be getting to know yourself for the first time again. You'll have maybe a new way of relating to yourself overall. This could be people who have just exited relationships, who are learning about themselves for the first time, or entering relationships and they're witnessing themselves in relationship for the first time differently than they were before. You could be seeing yourself, in the second house. If you have Aries, you could be seeing new ways of standing behind what you value, new ways of claiming what you want in this life, what you deeply, deeply desire to experience as an environment that holds you. This could be about claiming new resources, money, sources of sustenance, essentially. And so that would be if Aries was in your second house. If Aries is in your third house, you would be feeling really strong new ideas, really original, creative new ideas, ways of thinking, and really valuing yourself for the way that you think. If Aries is in your fourth house, you may find a relationship with your body and your home that you've longed to experience for such a long time, and now you finally are feeling a worthiness to be held in the space of home, a worthiness to be supported and safe. With Aries in the fifth house, you may be experiencing a really intense desire for creativity, for fun, for playfulness, for joy. You may be feeling inspired to create some sort of novelty in your life, make some changes that will bring more fun and playfulness and lightness to your life. And if you have Aries in your sixth house, you will, this would be a spark of inspiration of how you would be standing on your own 2 feet, how you'd be creating stability, how you'd be owning and claiming a path that will inevitably give you the freedom to follow what your soul is longing for follow your soul sovereignty. And so there could be some really tangible details about your day-to-day life that you begin to dial in and to, put under your feet so that it gives you that stable foundation that will support. And this is different from home in that it's all the details that make things work. So that would be if you have Aries in your 6th house. Now, if you have Aries in the 7th house, that's basically the opposite of your first. So the 7th house would be that you're coming into a new character based on the types of relationships that you're having. So there could be new types of relationships that are helping you to know yourself even more fully. And if Aries is in your 8th house, this could be clarifying shared resources, the way that you value what you value and how that is impacted by the intimate relationships that you have. So this could be team building, maybe a joint vision. Maybe you and your partner decide to cultivate a way of working together and supporting each other that will give you the ability to follow your greatest values. If you have Aries in your 9th house, there could be a huge overhaul of your guiding principles. You could be creating a code of living that becomes a guiding principle that you lead your life from this point forward, and it reshapes the way you think. It clarifies and simplifies the way you think, because you've got this new code of conduct that you live by, or standards that you live by. If you have Aries in your 10th house, there could be a huge stepping into moment for your career and legacy. You know more fully how you are going to deliver your gifts to the world and what that could be like moving forward. And so there's a real strong expansion and visceral knowing about the way that you're physically showing up to deliver your gifts to the world and perform the tasks of your career legacy. And if you have Aries in your 11th house, this is going to really inform the way you show up and impact others. So you may find yourself doing a lot of speaking, a lot of leading of groups. It may be a very public time for you where you really see that your leadership is valued and called for. And then if you have Aries in your 12th house, this could be a very reflective period for you, where you take an inventory of all the ways that you have, all the ways that you have basically rippled your life out through all the areas I just described. And there could be this really strong sense of reflection and worthiness based on that reflection. And so it's there could also be issues of, needing to take some time to recover your physical body, to, go within and to there's themes around recovery, restoration, rest, replenishing your energy centers. So that would be, I wasn't expecting to do that, but that would be, there's so much Aries energy throughout the rest of the month that knowing the area of your life where you could be really dropping in and letting yourself, it's almost like, okay, I will give myself to that part of my life, and I'll really double down on that basic topic. So that's where the sun will be in Aries for the next month, starting on the 20th. The new moon in Aries on the 21st. There will be 2 new moons in Aries this year, once on the 21st of March, and then a total solar eclipse on the 20th of April. So this is the first bookmark, and everything that I just described about Aries, you're going to see that theme come full circle from the 20th of March to the 20th of April. And the 20th of April is going to be like a total eclipse moment where the absolute clarity of the new development in that area of your life will be crystallized. So just know this is the first little part of the crystal on the 21st, and then the rest of the crystal will form around the matrix of your choices and your focus from that point forward. And just to really emphasize that point, on the 23rd of March, Pluto will enter Aquarius. And a lot of astrologers are going to be talking about this. This is a pretty big deal. When Pluto changes signs, we all feel it, but it's really, it creates huge collective movements as well. And I've talked about this a few times in previous videos. In light of more recent understandings, I would say that Pluto entering in Aquarius, even though it's only going to move a couple of degrees in, it's going to feel a little bit like we're taking our life to the next level. We're taking this is that specializing energy. So if, let's say, for instance, we've been transforming through our tangible assets, our values, our resources, the things that we've been investing. Basically, the whole time that Pluto's been in Capricorn, we've clarified the way we invest ourselves, the way that we measure our success, the way that we measure our value. And so we've taken the last 15 years to really align our lives with what we deeply value. And now that we've aligned our lives to whatever, you can look around, whatever you're experiencing right now is an indicator of what you now value and what you want to create through a network of connected souls over the next 20 years. So when Pluto enters Aquarius, we'll have about 20 years of that movement through the Aquarius temple. Pluto will retrograde back into Capricorn this year, and then back into Aquarius, and then back and back. It'll do that for a couple of years. So it'll feel like, okay, let's go back. Some of the metaphors I've used is like, imagine that you're building a spaceship, and we're taking the rocket into space. We say, okay, we know that it's flight worthy now. Let's bring it back to Earth. Let's regroup. Let's figure out and make sure that this is the vehicle that we want to use, and make any adjustments to our team, our resources, ourselves that we need to make. And then we'll take it back into space again for a little bit longer. Then we'll come back to Earth. So this is kind of a test mission. And the first test mission will start on the 23rd. So what could that look like for the collective? I mean, everybody's at a different level of connectivity. So results will vary for sure. I've listened to astrologers that are talking about, the changing of massive societal paradigms, which we've already been seeing a lot of, but there could be some events that really shatter even further the commonly held paradigm that we take for granted. At this moment, we take for granted what we think is real or true, what we think is stable, what we think is connectivity. And we may find that there are certain things that are definitely not true. They're not sustainable. They're not connected, and they're not ship worthy. And so we could see some dismantling of incongruent connections, dismantling of incongruent societal beliefs. And so there will be that dismantling to clear space for something that's more aligned, congruent, real, sustainable, something more evolved. So I feel this is a long-term trajectory. Anyone who will be alive for the next 20 years will be able to live through and see all of those adjustments take place in our lives. But we will see the beginning of that this year. And there's a beautiful shift in July that will bring us even more fully into our individuated understanding of congruence. And I feel that when individuals get clear, that shifts all of the collective. And so I'm always thinking that I always know and feel that life is really an inside job. And that when we do the work on the inside, or when we come into self-acceptance and self-awareness for ourselves, that actually reflects in the bigger, broader collective space. And so for us living our lives, we may just find that transit clarifies, eliminates things that were never going to work in the long run anyway, and creates space for a more specialized, more congruent experience of our own lives. And then on the 25th, Mars will enter Cancer, and we're all going to be feeling, wow, there's lots of different ways that Mars in Cancer feels. I personally have a Mars in Cancer, and I can tell you that when I'm not accepting my emotional self, when I'm not accepting all of the really strong emotions that this physical body feels, that my soul translates through me, and there's a suppression of that, I feel high levels of frustration, analysis. I feel like in some ways disconnected. I feel hard. I feel protective. I feel like I've got to, put my pinchers out, proactively protect so that nothing can hurt me. I understand that I'm so vulnerable. I refuse to even admit my vulnerability. So that's when I'm avoiding the beautiful emotional expressions that are just my soul having an experience. But when I let those emotions surface, when I feel safe to allow any motion of energy to move through me, I feel so soft. I feel so like watered, so nurtured. I feel like life is sinking in, love is sinking in. I'm receiving the support and care from my life. And so I feel that there's a couple of different ways that Mars and Cancer transit could be for us. And it just depends on how safe we feel in our nervous system to allow the energy to move through us without resisting, without repressing, without making a huge meaning about it. It's just, I think that we'll be able to witness a lot of different expressions of this, but for us on a personal level, because that's really all that we can really be a steward to, I think that this month is setting us up to really allow life to be felt presently, to sink in, to let that beautiful, vulnerable love be felt, and to know that we are held by life. I deeply, deeply believe that life is holding us, and it's compassionate, and it is safe. And I haven't always felt that way, but this journey of reading the cycles, of feeling through the cycles, of holding space for others as they're traversing the cycles. It's proven to me over and over and over that life intelligently holds us. It compassionately gives us grace. It is not trying to screw us over, no matter how much we sometimes think that. This is so divine. It is so beautifully orchestrated. And this is me. Like, I'm now sharing with you like what I'm putting my faith into. I deeply have faith in life. And I am actively taking part in everything that I just shared with you. And so I didn't even talk about the names of the other weeks we're going to have, but it's the Queen of Water, the Sacred Vessel, and the elemental completion. So we're going to come into the space of the sacred vessel of our bodies, of our homes, of our lives, of our relationships, of our offerings, our gifts, our impact, the sacred vessel of our lives. That is what is available to us when we truly, truly allow, surrender and allow. And then that elemental completion, when I reflect, it's the writing in my journal. In case you don't already have my journal, I wrote a paperback journal. It actually has all the dates that I described for this month and every month for the rest of the year. I have like intuitive guidance for each of these days, questions to ask yourself for deeper discernment and inquiry, and then spaces to kind of journal. And I actually meet every Monday and I go over the week in detail with a small group of people. It's intimate. We all share, we all learn from each other. I'm going to be opening up another space for this month. So stay tuned for that invitation if this is something that you'd like to enjoy. Hey, honey, I just need a couple more minutes. Okay. Pause it. My daughter is home because it's a snow day, and
my iPad is at 2%.
That's okay, babe. I'm almost done. I'm almost done.
I need
it. Yeah, part of me surrendering is realizing that I don't have to have everything so perfect. My environment doesn't have to be a contained, like antibacterial, super clear, like absolutely empty space in order for me to be present with my gifts, with what I'm compelled to share from my gifts, with my message. I've had a lot of experiences that have sort of pressed me into surrendering that belief that everything has to be a certain way in order for me to be aligned, congruent, effective, connected, focused, etc. So anyways, I will just end this message now. I do have some really exciting announcements that I'll be sharing with you in March. So be sure to subscribe.
Hi.
If you're not already subscribed, and if you'd like to join my Telegram channel, it's free and I leave a lot more messages there throughout the month, a lot more. So if that seems compelling, there's a link down below so you can join us there. And until my next announcement, I hope you have a beautiful embodied March, and I'll see you next time.